The story begins in African mercenary headquarters. An officer was briefing the soldiers on tonight's mission. Due to the nature of the mission, only a few soldiers were required. So only 5 squads, 49 of them in total, would be included, and the number of enemy soldiers was between 350 to 500 men. The mission was not to engage with them, just kill the target and retreat. The one who was leading the mission was none other than our protagonist. They had intruded 2 kilometers into the enemy territory and everything was going according to plan, but our protagonist had a premonition about this. His team member teases him for being on guard all the time when a bullet pierces through him. The enemy starts firing at them and they take cover. The enemies were using all the big guns from the start. Smithen knows he wouldn't survive this and told the captain to leave him. They were only a few meters away from their target, and they couldn't retreat with this many soldiers chasing them. So the captain decides to take out their target at least and charges forward. Just then, he gets sniped directly in the head. But the crazy part about this was that the bullet came from behind, meaning one of his squad members betrayed him and his squad. The enemy troops march forward while he was dying. He closes his eyes and hears someone calling him. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a hospital in Gangnam City, Korea. The doctor calls his guardians. He didn't know what was going on and why he was speaking Korean. No one could have survived that battle, so how was he still alive? He lashes out at the doctor, but he was shocked when he sees himself in the mirror. After a few days, he was discharged from the hospital. To summarize it all, before this, he was formerly the captain of a French mercenary troop, Kang Chen, 29 years old. He was carrying out a mission in Africa in 2016, and after getting shot, he woke up in another person's body in 2019. And surprisingly, his name was also Kang Chen. He was 19 years old senior high school student who fell from the rooftop of the school building and was in a coma for a few days. Of course, the one who woke up was not the same high school student. He arrives at his apartment and his mom keeps asking him if he remembers anything. The doctor had told them that he had lost his memory from the shock. He gets into his room and the first this he does, he searches for the battle that was going on in Africa, but he couldn't find anything on the internet. He gets a message from a guy in his class who was threatening to kill him for not reporting to him after getting discharged from the hospital. The guy keeps threatening him, but Chan ignores all his messages. So he calls him and orders Chan to come to the school if he didn't want to die. Kang gets annoyed and blocks him. The bully was pissed and throws his phone, saying he was going to make him pay the next time he comes to the school. After searching for too long, he couldn't find anything about the French war. He craves cigarettes and looks through his stuff to find some. While searching, he finds his notes and what he saw inside completely shook him from the inside. The notes were full of resentment towards the bully and his frustrations. He realizes that the owner of that body was being bullied. The next day, he goes to school and everyone was staring at him. He didn't know where his class was and was looking for someone to help him. Just then the bully comes there who was messaging him, lashes out at him for hanging up on him. Chan just laughs at him and asks him if he had a cigarette on him. The bully gets angry and takes him to the basketball court. He was showing his jabs to scare Chan, but as the bully was going to attack him, Chan attacks him first, and in just one punch, he falls to the ground. Chan was instinctively about to kill him, but he refrains from doing that. While he was leaving, the bully gets back up and attacks him. Due to his weak body, his punch wasn't enough to take care of him, so he starts beating him brutally. After he was done with him, he looks for his class when a girl greets him and takes him to the class. She was in the same class as he was. The bully was also in the same class and he kept staring at Chang the whole time. He messages his other friends to meet him. During the PE class, the bully takes him somewhere isolated, while Chan gets annoyed and regrets not killing him when he had the chance. The other bullies were there and mocked the first bully for getting beaten up by a nerd like him. Chan told them to attack him all at once as he didn't want to waste his time. One of them gets annoyed at his cocky attitude and attacks him, only to get slammed on the ground. He told them about his weak spots and assigns all of them where they should attack him. But their ego gets hurt instead, and they attack him randomly. Due to his new body, he had to face some inconvenience, but he beats all of them up in the end, except bully number 1. The bully apologizes to him and promises not to mess with him again, but Chan was still not convinced. Just then, he feels someone behind him. It was the PE teacher. Chan was wondering how could a mere teacher come this close to him without him noticing. The teacher advised him not to go further than that, otherwise, it wouldn't be considered self-defense. While Chan was leaving, the teacher asks him where he learned to fight like that, to which he replies from the internet. At home, his parents got the news of him fighting and were angry at him. When comes home, they see that he had changed his hairstyle. He goes straight to his room while his father was scolding him. He comes back with all the notes that the original owner of the body had left behind. When they saw the notes, they were shocked and couldn't stop crying. They have a talk and apologize to him for not knowing this sooner. Seeing them caring for him, he remembers his childhood, which was not quite normal. They were very poor and his drunk father was abusive towards him and his mother. While he was leaving, his father gets a call from France, and because of the language barrier, there was a huge miscommunication that cost his father 130 million won. Chan takes the call and talks directly to the man in charge in the French language. His parents were stunned to see him speak French so fluently. He resolves the issue and told them that he learned that from the internet. In his room, he was thinking of going back to France once his body was completely healed. But now he was a little hesitant thinking about the parents. The next day at school, the bully comes to mess with Chan again and told him to follow them. When he doesn't agree, they threaten to harm Myoung. He doesn't remember who Myoung was. She was the girl that sits next to him. When he remembers her, he agrees to follow them. On the rooftop of the school, there were many more delinquents, and a group of girls was also there. Chan told them to get out of there and one of them starts giving him attitude. Chan slaps her in front of everyone. The bully promises her to get back at him 10 times and she leaves after that. He doesn't see Myoung with them. Myoung had just entered the class. After realizing that they were lying to him, he starts to leave when they surround him. The bully said to him if he was scared and wanted to jump again. He realizes that these guys were there when the owner of his body jumped off the roof. He asks him if they were here that day, and the bully reveals he was the reason he had jumped before in the first place. He was scared and begged for his life and fell off the roof on his own. Chan was furious and his body starts to tremble in anger. The bully was also prepared this time. He had brought the strongest guy in their school district to fight him. The guy makes fun of him for being so tiny. He lets his guard down and Chan manages to take him down in just one strike to the face. The other bullies attack him as well. They were armed with weapons that high schoolers shouldn't have, like knives, spiky bats and all. But still, he defeats all of them. One of them attacks him with a knife, so he goes as far as breaking his arm. And now only Lee Hajin was remaining. As Chan was about to beat him, the pay teacher comes there and stops him. This time, Chan was sure that he was not just a normal pay teacher. After the bullies were gone, the teacher was scolding him. The teacher uses the same phrase that one of his team members, Daewoo, used to say. He suspects that there could be a chance that he went through the same thing. He tests it by attacking the teacher out of nowhere. The teacher and Chan were going toe-to-toe against each other. They both stop in the middle of the fight. The teacher was shocked to see how a high schooler could fight like that and asked him who he was. Chan answers him with the phrase he used to say, he was the god of Blackfield. The teacher was stunned to know that the person in front of him was his captain, the legend, the god of Blackfield. After that talk for some time about all the things that happened to them, we see Daera's side of the story, how he woke in someone else's body as a husband and a father, and how they helped him through it. Chan reveals that he was planning on going back to France to catch the traitor among them. Daewoo tries to stop him from going back to that hell, but he doesn't listen to him. Daewoo advised him that they should go there during the summer breaks. He also told him about the kids that he was fighting with, and how they were connected to gangsters. He goes to the nurse's office, making an excuse that he was sick. He suddenly gets up sensing someone coming to the office. It was the bully, who brought snacks for him as he was their leader now. Chan scolds him and he runs away. When school ends, Myoung was waiting for him. While they were leaving, the girl from the rooftop stops him and told him that someone wanted to meet him. But Chan ignores her, which pisses her official. Myoung want him to be careful of her because she sleeps with anyone. And while they were talking, we see some gangsters who were looking for him. They stop him to have a chat with him. Myoung asks her not to go, but he assures her that he would be fine. They said they just wanted to have a chat with him and told him to get inside the car. Chan doesn't agree to that, so one of them starts to mock his attitude. Chan gets his hands off of him, smacks him in the face, and slams him onto the ground. The other members attack him as well, even though Chan was dodging all their attacks and striking them back, due to the reason that they were full-grown adults and he had still the body of a teenager. It was getting hard for even him to fight back. When he started to overpower them, the boss intervenes and kicks him aside. He still wanted to just have a talk, but Chen doesn't go. So the main guy attacks him, and even though Chen blocks, he still receives damage from the sheer strength of the attack. Chen gets back at him and the others attack him as well. As the fight started to get intense, Mio-eung pretends to call the cops and they run away in their car. He sees that girl, Yoonsul, again, and advised her not to hang out with guys like those or she would get hurt badly one day. But she lashes out at him instead, who walks away while she kept screaming at him. The next day, some first year came to greet Chen and they hand him the weekly payment that they collected from the students. He scolds them and told them to return the money to the students. The PE teacher calls him to the counseling room. He asks him for a favor before he goes back to Africa. There were 4 students that were being severely bullied, so Daeru wanted him to help them out. At first, Chen denies it, saying once he was gone, the situation would get only worse. But Daeru made a deal with him that he would only have to attend 1 class. Chen agrees after that. While coming back to the class, he sees Yoonsul waiting for him. She was covering her mouth and was injured here and there. Chen ignores her again and she yells at him saying it was his fault that she got into this mess and started crying. Chen takes her to the roof and she told him that those guys from yesterday had told her to get Chen. Otherwise, they would have injured Hojin and her family. They even threatened to sell her to the brothel. He told her to call those gangsters. She calls him and Chen takes the phone to speak to them himself. He told them that he would come to them on Monday, and if they don't agree to that, he was not gonna come at all. The boss gives the signal and they agree to it. While going back home, Mio-eung follows her along. She asks him if he was going out with Yoonsul. He was surprised because that came out of nowhere. He denies it and asks her if she had a crush on him in a surprised voice. She thinks for a few seconds and agrees with him. He didn't know what to do. The next day at the weekend, he made an excuse to his mother that he was studying hard because it was his senior year, and went to hang out with Daeru somewhere isolated. They talk about how Daeru had gotten used to it and considered staying there himself. Chen told him that he was going to meet up with those gangsters, but he doesn't tell him the location where they were meeting, as he knows that he would follow him there behind his back. Chen orders him to stay out of this fight. Daeru advised him not to go and just let this slide, but Chen couldn't just let that slide. He arrives at his apartment and starts training to fight them. He could imagine the fights as if he was fighting them in real life. He could take down many of them at once, but due to his weak body, he would get stabbed and be defeated. His body was too weak to keep up with his speed and wondered if he was gonna even stand a chance against them. On the other hand, Mio-eung was waiting for Chen to reply to her back. The next day at the school gym, while Chen was training, Daeru asks him to let him help in this, but he refuses him. After he was done training, he goes outside where a car was waiting for him and he gets inside the car. The guy took him to their base where their boss welcomes him. He cuts to the chase and offers him to join their gang. Chen rudely told him to get his goons out of his school or he would beat the crap out of all of them. The boss gets pissed and his men attack him and the fight begins. On the one side was a whole gang, and on the other side was Chen, who wasn't even at his full potential yet. After he dealt with all of the goons in the room, the boss himself attacks him. He blocks his attack and takes him hostage. In the hall, he was shocked to see all his men. He threatens to snap their boss's neck if they come near him, but they don't care and attacked him. He was dodging all their attacks while taking the boss hostage. He was getting overpowered by them. The number 2 of the gang orders his man to kill him instead of trying to catch him. He smacks the number 2 in the face and lets go of the boss, and tries to get out of their grasp. But they were consistent and were attacking him continuously, not giving him any chance to relax. Although he was still taking down many of them, he was almost out of breath. And the same goes for the goons as well. As if this wasn't enough, some more guys from that gang also come there. Chen could tell that these guys were definitely stronger than the others, and they have also killed before. As they were about to attack him, they hear a crash behind them. A guy in the mask was standing behind them. One of them attacks the guy in the mask, whom he easily defeats. Chen was also wondering who he was, but seeing their fighting style, he realizes it was none other than Daeru. While he took care of the goons, the 2 attacked Chen. They were fast, even faster than Chen. Chen was getting stabbed many times while trying to look out for the other one. He had lost too much blood. The guy with the mark on his face attacks him straight, which was impassable to dodge. He gets a flashback from his past, and in the present, He had barely blocked the attack with his bare hands, and now it was time for him to fight back. He smacks the guy's face to his head, and just in the next punch, the guy was on the floor. The other guy was shocked to see that, and while he was distracted by it, Chan attacks him, making him unable to move with just one punch. He was now unable to control himself, and as he was about to kill him, Daeru stops him, and that brings him back to his senses. Chan gives the others a chance to leave if they didn't want to end up like them. They drop their weapon and get out of there. Chan falls to the ground all injured, unable to walk. Kang was so injured he couldn't even stand anymore. The teacher went to find something to cover him up. Kang looked for cigarettes, but he was out of it. As if it all wasn't enough, he heard the footsteps of many people. He wondered if they were back up. He tried to get back up even though he was heavily injured. The boss of the gang came in front and introduced himself as Kwong. He complimented him for taking down a whole gang on his own even though he was just a high school student. While he was blabbering all this, Kang asked him if he had cigarettes on him. One of his men got angry at him for talking rudely to their boss, but the boss scolded him instead. The teacher also came there, which made Kwong wonder what kind of duo was that. One of his men informed him that no one was dead, but they were heavily injured. He was here to take care of this gang as well, but it was already wiped out. They resolved the situation quietly, and Boss Kwong took him to a hospital. When Kang woke up, he found himself in a hospital. The teacher told him that he passed out as soon as he got inside Kwong's car, and he was out for a while. The teacher had informed his parents saying he would be staying with him. Kang remembered what had happened and thought to himself that it wouldn't have happened if it was his old body. Boss Kwong entered the room and Kang asked him for the cigarettes again, which annoyed him. He told him how he hit a Jack without lifting a finger because of him, so he was going to do a favor on him of his choosing. Kang asked him not to bother his school or recruit students from his schools. Boss Kwong warned him to watch his back because he was now a target of many people, but Kang rudely replied that it was not something he should be worried about. Boss Kwong got angry and told him to stay in his lane. Even if he benefited from his actions, he wouldn't tolerate his behavior. There was tension between them, but Boss Kwong let it slide this time. After he was gone, the teacher told Kang that Myung was texting him non-stop, but he ignored her texts. The teacher informed him that according to the doctors he would be admitted to the hospital for at least 1 month. Kang said he was going to stay for just a week and told the teacher to tell his parents he was in an accident. After a few minutes, his mother came running after hearing the news. Kang acted as if he was fine in front of her. She was planning to take him to an even better hospital. If that happened, his secret would be out. But the doctor saved him this time, reassuring his mother that he was already healed. After her mother was gone, the doctor changed his stitches, but he was surprised to see his wounds already healing. Normally, it would take at least 1 week. The doctor told him his side of the story and why he worked as a doctor. He told him that he was free to come and go whenever he wanted as long as he didn't die or kill someone. He also informed him that he was going to sell his organs if he were to die someday. 1 week later, after he was discharged, he was ready to go to school the next day. His mother showed him the medical treatment bills, which were about $45,000. It was Boss Kwong who sent the bills to his home. He assured her that it was just a mistake. His father offered him a ride to school. Kang knew he wanted to talk to him about the accident. On the way to the school, he asked Kang if he was hiding something from him. Kang told him that he got into a fight and the students had some gangster backing them, but he took care of them. His father was upset, but he didn't scold him. Instead, he told him how much his mother sacrificed for them, so whatever happens, he shouldn't make her worry. Kang understood what he was saying as he got a flashback from the past. When he arrived at the school, the teacher scolded him for coming to school instead of resting. Kang asked him if anything had happened while he was gone. The teacher told him about the rumors about him. Some say he was stabbed to death, some say he was in a coma, and stuff like that. Kang asked for the names of the students which he wanted him to help last time. The kids who were being bullied. We see the first of the victims. He was being bullied while he was eating his lunch. The bully took his food and then shoved the fook in his mouth while the whole class was laughing. Just then, Kang entered the class and asked for the student named Moon Kijin. The bully bowed before him after seeing him and pointed him toward the kid. The kid was trembling after seeing him because he had heard how scary he was. Kang asked him to follow him. Kijin asked him why in a flustering voice. The whole class was shocked that he was talking back to someone like Kang. The bully yelled at him for raising his voice before him, but Kang stopped him and took Kijin with him. While the whole class was thinking that it was the end for Kijin, Kang tries to put a friendly face to assure them that he isn't going to hurt anyone, but they are still scared of him. He goes to the next person who was another victim of school bullying, Soyeon. He introduces himself to her. After hearing he was the infamous Kang, she was terrified. He asked her to come with him for a minute and she followed him without questioning him. In the hallway, they encounter some big dude. Soyeon started getting nervous seeing them and hid behind Kang. Those guys bow before Kang as well, but he just told them to move out of the way as they were just blocking his way. He invited a few more students to the sports room. He told them that he wanted to start a sports club with them. One of them asked him why he chose them for something like sport. "Because I want to be friends with all of you," says Kang. They were fazed to hear that and didn't know how to react to that. The teacher assured him that he would supervise them and they were not being forced to join as well. They didn't have to join if they didn't want to. Kang tries to persuade them to join the club, but that only scared them. The teacher asked him not to glare at them too much, and he also asked him what Mi-young was doing there. Mi-young introduced herself as the club manager even though no one assigned that role to her. The teacher asked Kang why he brought her there. "She met me in the hallway and started crying and wouldn't leave me alone," says Kang. But when she asked them to join the club, they agreed, because she was like an angel among those scary individuals. Kang ordered some pork cutlets to ease their worries. He sees the girl from earlier who got him involved with those gangsters, sneaking on them. She tries to run away, but Kang confronts her about this. When she denies sneaking on them, Kang doesn't push her. She asks him if he is not worried that she might be plotting something, but Kang doesn't care and tells her to just go away. She was frustrated with herself. She watched them from a distance while the others trained their asses off with Kang. After they were done with round 1 and thinking that it was done, Kang dropped a bomb on them by saying they were only warming up. Hearing this, their soul left their body. While playing dodgeball, Kang hits one of them in the face. The teacher asked him to go easy on them because they were in school, and he was intentionally aiming at kids. They started going back and forth against each other while laughing like maniacs. The kids wondered what kind of hell they had signed up for. After they were done with the training and cleaning up, the girl, Yoonsul, came again. She asked him to let her join the club as well, which startled the other club members. But Kang denies her, saying she was in her senior year. Yoonsul lashes out at him saying she was not planning to go to college anyway, so that shouldn't matter. And also, Mi-young was also in senior year, Yoonsul pointed out. Kang told her that she had good grades so she didn't have to worry about her study. Yoonsul glares at her in anger and leaves after that. While coming back from school, Min-young asked him to let Yoonsul join the club, but Kang denies it, saying others are scared of her. He leaves after saying that. When he got back home, he found his father was talking to someone and was in stress, but he pretends as if everything is fine. But Kang noticed it. After a few minutes, Kang comes out of his room and asks his father if he would like to go on a work with him. He agrees to go with him. Kang asked him what was going on. At first, the father was hesitant as he didn't want to burden him with his problems. But after Kang insisted, he told him that it was about his business in France. The company from which he was buying his cars rejected his deal because there was a new company, Seojong Group, that was monopolizing all the smaller businesses. He told him everything in detail on what was going on. After thinking about it long and hard, Kang asked him whether it would be okay if he also came along to their next meeting. His dad obviously didn't understand what he was going to do in the meeting, but after explaining to him for a few minutes, Kang finally pursued his father. They kept all this from the mother as they didn't want her to worry. When he got inside his room, he got a call from a girl. She was a foreigner from France who met Kang at a restaurant. Kang had asked her favor, and in exchange, he had to go on a date with her. But due to his family matters, he postponed their date. He explained to her that he had a family matter to take care of. It was finally the day of the meeting. Kang and his dad were at the hotel where the meeting was being held. Kang's father thanks him for trying to help him and coming here with him. As they were talking, the guy they were supposed to meet came there. Kang was beyond shocked seeing the guy. He was none other than their major, who had assigned them the mission which got him killed. His past memories of him flooded his mind while he wondered and thought of all the reasons why would he be in this position. Saffron greeted them in French. Not just Saffron, Smithen was he too, and he was flirting here as well. Seeing both of them, Kang was worried. His father asks him if he is okay. Kang introduces himself to them in French. "Your way of speaking is similar to someone I knew," says Saffron. Smithen was still not behaving and was looking for ways to flirt with the waitress, But Saffron stopped him again. He asked Kang if his name was common in Korea, because it sounded familiar to him. To which Kang replied that their name sounded familiar as well. They start to talk about the business. Saffron still hasn't lost his silver tongue. He was not agreeing with their deal. He was forcing them to agree to unreasonable demands. One of the guys from Korea got angry at him and threatened to take him to court. Kang knew this was not the way to handle Saffron. Saffron got angry at them and accepted their threat. As he was leaving, Kang stopped them and asked them for some more time. He asked his father to let him handle the situation. After thinking about it long and hard, his father realized that he had nothing to lose at this point. Kang asked them for 1 week's time and assured them that they wouldn't be disappointed by the offer. Saffron agreed to the agreement because he reminded him of the Kang he knew. Kang says to himself that if these guys were really Saffron and Smitten he knew, then he could take them on. While coming back to their home, his father asked him if he really was his son Kang. He was not stupid to believe that he learned French from the internet. Kang told him that he wouldn't believe him even if he told him. His father didn't question him after that, but he warned him not to bring any gangsters in this matter, ever. We see a flashback from the past. They were surrounded by enemy soldiers and were being pushed back, but Kang took it upon himself to get rid of them. He sprinted to the enemy front line alone, while not letting himself be spotted by the enemies. As they were about to shoot an RPG at them, Kang came from behind. Before they could react to him, he started shooting at them. One of the bullets hit the RPG, making it blast to their face, and the rest of the soldiers took care of the rest of the soldiers. He reported that he had secured Area K. There were no casualties in their team as well, but someone was missing. It was Smitten. He was somewhere forcing a survivor to play with him. As he was about to do something inappropriate to the girl, Kang found him. Smitten acts as if he is trying to help a civilian, but Kang was aware of his sick habits and beat the crap out of him that day, and he had the same look on his face in the present day as well. The teacher picks up Kang. Kang told him the truth about Smitten and Saffron being alive. They were staying in the Namsan Hotel right now. The teacher was furious and was planning on confronting them, but Kang stopped him. He further told him that they were now owners of a big company. Hearing this, the teacher started laughing menacingly. He pointed out how obvious it was that it was those guys who sold their own comrades for money. He died after Kang died in the battle, and even if those guys managed to survive somehow, what would explain their sudden wealth growth? When the teacher was not listening to his orders to stay down, Kang called him by his name, Daeru, and ordered him as his captain to stay put. Daeru suggested he ask Boss Kwong for help. That was a good point, but he couldn't involve them as he had made a promise to his father. The best way to deal with them was to separate them for some time. As he was thinking about it, Michelle called him again, which gave him an idea. He informed her that they would meet at the Namsan Hotel, which caught her off guard because she didn't expect him to be this straightforward. He was using her as bait to separate Smitten from Saffron. Kang knew if he saw Michelle and her friends, he wouldn't be able to control himself, and that's when they would take care of him. Daeru asked Kang to let him handle Smitten. Kang pointed out that he was not in his old body while Smitten was still as strong as before, so it might be a bad idea to let him handle Smitten. But Daeru kept insisting, so Kang agreed to let him take care of Smitten. Even though the situation was complicated, they couldn't help but feel excited doing something like this after a long time. But Kang thinks to himself that if Daeru was still as strong as before, it would be a fight incomparably harder than the last one with the parking lot group. The next day, during the class, Kang was zoning out because he was tired. After the school, Mi-young suggested they should head together, but Kang told her that he had plans. She asked him if he was going out with a girl. He told her that he had something to do with the gym teacher. When she asked to tag along, he coldly denies her. On the way, Yoonsul also stops him, asking him to let her join the club, but he cuts her off mid-sentence, saying he was busy. Yoonsul calls him a jerk. The gym teacher was ready for the meeting. Kang made fun of him, asking him if he was scared, to which he replies that he was scared of the principal but not Smitten. They arrive at the Hotel Namsan. The whole time, Daeru kept reminding Kang how he wasn't afraid of Smitten. When Kang enters the hotel, Boss Kwong's right-hand man welcomes him, but he told him to just leave. Just then, Michelle also arrived there with her friends. While everyone was mesmerized by their beauty, Kang was waiting for Smitten to come out. They changed their location while Kang signals Daeru to stay there. The hotel was serving them free of charge on Kwong's orders, which impressed Michelle, seeing him being treated like a gentleman. While Kang found it unnecessary, he also got a call from Boss Kwong. Seeing him all over the place, Michelle questioned him if he was there to attend to another matter. Kang didn't lie to them and told them half-truths. Just then, Daeru messaged him that Smithen was there, but he was not alone. There were also members of the Venomous Snake Gang, which was a very big gang in France. He verified them by the tattoos on their thumb, which were their gang symbol, and each member of the gang had it. In his past life, Daeru fought against them, so there was no way he wouldn't recognize them. Daeru suggests they should retreat for now because they didn't account for gang members in their plan. Kang agreed that it would be a sane thing to do, but never have they completed a mission without any setbacks in their past lives. There was always something that wasn't on the plan, but they still didn't run away, and he was not going to run away today either. Daeru understood what he was saying, but they still didn't have any plans. Kang was kind of panicking because he didn't have time to think of a plan right away, while Smithen was already in the club and had met with his benefactor.